Y'all, I am so sorry for being late. What's going on, guys? I am here. I apologize for the delay. Jesus, it's 23 past the hour, and I am just now getting up for the live stream. This is your WWE Raw review from March 1st, 2021, and it was a big one. We did, in fact, see a title change at the end of the show. Bobby Lashley is your new WWE champion, and on the surface, good mic work, couldn't be happier. We got a lot to discuss in terms of the future implications of what happened here tonight, what you guys think about it, and that's what I want to know right off the bat. I know a lot of you have been waiting for me to get here. I apologize for the long delay, but I am here now. I actually thought I had a little mic issue before. It turns out it was nothing, so I was just retesting things to make sure it was all right before we came up here and went live. And plus, I wanted to throw a new thumbnail up and all that because we have a new champion, and that belt over the Miz's shoulders right now is now obsolete. One of the shortest WWE title runs in history, and I am very, very pleased about that. So, hell of an ending here. You thought for sure as the night progressed that the Miz was going to try shenanigan after shenanigan after shenanigan to get out of this match. I had predicted pretty firmly in my last couple of live streams that I did not think we would see a title change tonight. Just didn't feel like the time, especially if the object here is to make Lashley. Feels like WrestleMania would be a better moment to do that for Lashley than on Raw. Miz even made mention of that in the promo prior to their second attempt at their match tonight. So that's kind of what I thought they might have in plan for Lashley, but they might be building up a match just for Drew to regain the title. And not only did Miz have a short run, it's possible that Bobby Lashley did as well. But I hope not. I hope he continues to roll, man. I want Lashley to be champ for a while. We'll talk all about that, though, as we go through here and the speculation about what this could mean and how long Lashley's going to hold the title and how dominant he's going to be and whether or not Drew is going to beat him for it and regain the title or not. But Lashley looked like a monster tonight, and I like the way they did that to where if they actually put The Miz in a situation where he couldn't get away or run away, there was no way he was going to be able to beat Lashley. And I was still kind of convinced in the Lumberjack match when we were watching that. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Like somebody's got to run in, or I speculated that Drew would come crash the match because I'm a little bit surprised that McIntyre isn't as pissed off at Lashley as he should be. Lashley is the one that screwed him over, more so than The Miz, even though The Miz is the one that cashed in the briefcase. You know, Lashley did the screwing, so it feels like he's got a receipt coming. So I just kind of thought it would be McIntyre crashing the match tonight, maybe attacking Bobby Lashley. I still didn't think he had to have Miz pin Lashley or anything, but Drew just shows up and screws Lashley somehow. Then Drew gets his rematch at Fastlane, wins the belt back, and then you got Drew and Lashley for the title at WrestleMania. They went the opposite direction here, and they actually put the belt on Bobby Lashley tonight. Bobby Lashley's first WWE title win in history comes on Monday Night Raw in the Thunderdome. That is a bit surprising. But it also put over Bobby Lashley as a guy that, as long as the fight's straight up, he's going to beat you. And he ragdolled the hell out of The Miz in that hurt lock, and referee called for the bell. I'm like, holy shit, there it is. So I guess first and foremost, congratulations to Bobby Lashley. It's about time. This is 16 years in the making and about 10 years too late, if you ask me. And I was worried when Bobby Lashley came back in. We talked about it here on the channel for years. As he was brought back, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't seem like he's any better. He was kind of working with Roman Reigns right at first, and they tried to make him a big deal, but before you knew it, he's in obstacle courses with Sami Zayn. He's getting married to Lana, and Rusev's jumping out of cakes, and everything they had him do was just absolutely ridiculous. And now he's WWE champion. And for the past 6 months, WWE has slowly been building him. I thought this was going to be a slower burn. Last year, I was calling for this guy to win the title at SummerSlam and just to keep rolling for the U.S. title, with the U.S. title for a little bit. They really sped up the process here, and this guy is now champion going into WrestleMania. We still have Fastlane in between now and then, so I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if The Miz is going to get a rematch or not. I don't even know why Miz would bother. I mean, unless he can really stack the deck against Lashley in some way, you know, where Lashley's legs need to be tied behind his head. I don't know how The Miz is going to wind up beating Bobby Lashley here at all. So we'll see what that does for Fastlane, but just hit me with your opinions in the chat. What did you think about this? Are you happy? Are you nervous that this could wind up badly for Lashley, as I somewhat am, because you guys know how I've been Team Lashley lately? Also, give me your grades on the show tonight. I like the story arc. I did like the fact, but the only problem I have with The Miz and Lashley getting to that main event is you kind of knew that's what they were going to do the whole time. Like the minute Miz had his menstrual cramps, you're like, okay, then, and they moved it to the top of the next hour. I'm like, okay, he's going to pull some shit on the next one too. And they'll wind up doing it in the main event anyway, which is what we thought the match was going to be. So I did kind of like that, even though it was predictable. Great Monday Night Raw back in the day did that with Austin and Brett. It was like when they were writing Brett off TV to go get some knee surgery or something, and they had a couple, like Austin wanted Brett. They had a couple of different street fights, 3 different times throughout the show, and that was the night where Austin was in the ambulance and he pulled Brett out, started beating the hell out of him and stuff, and it was like just 3 different segments that really encompassed the entire Monday Night Raw. This was kind of like that, and we got a good payoff in the end. We had Bobby Lashley annihilating The Miz, and I guess what is really a heel versus heel match, although it seems like a lot of fans are backing Lashley here. I know I am, and I'm a big McIntyre fan too. I just think Drew is a stud. But right now, I'm just more focused on Lashley, and he's my favorite of the 2 right now. So I want whatever they do here going into WrestleMania, Fastlane, whatever. I want Lashley. I don't want him just to be a month-long champion and drop the belt. I want kind of more for him. But we've talked about the possibility of WWE maybe wanting to give McIntyre the moment that he missed out on last year by winning the title at WrestleMania in Raymond James, and he will likely have an opportunity to do that. I don't know how you not do Lashley and Drew now. Don't think Miz is going to be involved in that. He'll go on to do his Bad Bunny shit, and Lashley and Drew can be the focus here, and that will be fun. But part of me worries that they want to put Drew over again when, I just kind of think it should be Lashley right now. But the order in which all of this happened is a little bit different than what I'm used to in my head. I kind of envision Lashley having his moment at WrestleMania. Instead, he gets it here. And whatevs. New champion Bobby Lashley, long overdue, and very happy for him. Very happy for him. There's no RIP Bret Hart. George Morris, what's up, dude? Thanks for the $5. I'm going to scroll back and knock out the other super chats as well. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? 2 patients got into a fist fight at the doctor's office. I work, both bloody, over no mask, and both were arrested. Well, right on. I hope you didn't have to get in the middle of that. You always have an interesting story. Either your cat is fucking a rooster or something, or whatever's going on, but you always got some fun stuff to say. Marcus Metcalf, you're back with 2 more. Thanks again. Business is booming. Raw was good. 30 minutes. But B+. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. No, nothing happened. Who put that here? I'll just remove. Yeah, nobody's buying that. Anyway. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not saying Miz was the shortest reign, but one of the shortest. I mean, not too many guys hold the belt for just a week. We've had plenty of day-long runs. There's probably lots of people that have had a shorter run than Miz. Off the top of my head, I can think of a couple. Andre and Kane, probably. Mysterio. There's a few guys. Yeah, I agree. Making the Retribution guys the Lumberjacks were stupid. Was dumb. Didn't make sense. There's enough talent back there. You didn't need those guys. Their whole object is to destroy the WWE, and now they're Lumberjacks. So stupid. Good morning to you, Turbo Onion. All right, as we collect ourselves here and kind of take in and soak in this new WWE champion, it really gets your mind wondering what the hell they're going to do at WrestleMania and everything. So why don't we start getting into the results, the actual results of Raw, and we'll start talking about the whole deal here. So the show opens up with Drew McIntyre. McIntyre was advertised for the show. We knew he was going to be there and kind of make his return tonight. He was off last week, I guess, selling the beatdown from Lashley. And he comes out. He gets on the mic and he says he's on a mission to win back the WWE title, so that made a lot of sense. I was kind of wondering where he was last week during all this when guys are getting title shots and he's just, kind of absent. And he brings up a good point. He said, I didn't work my balls off just to fall short at the finish line. I won the title in the Performance Center last year against Brock, and I carried the title. I defended the title in all sorts of different situations, and I was dominant all year. And it was my dream to get to this WrestleMania and main event this WrestleMania. And there's no way I'm going to fall short here just ahead of the pay-per-view. So, that, pretty much in a nutshell, I guess confirms that he's going to be involved in the title match of some kind at WrestleMania, despite whatever they do at Fastlane. So Miz then comes out. He's got the WWE title. He wants to be properly introduced. So Hamilton, or whatever his name is, the ring announcer, gives Miz a big introduction, announcing him as the WWE champion. Pyro goes off in the background, and that Miz tries to tell Drew that Lashley threatened his family and his kids if he didn't comply, like if he didn't agree to be champion. He's like, Lashley made me be champion, is basically what he was saying there, which was pretty funny. And Miz then proposes, he goes on to propose that McIntyre and Miz, kind of work together, because he kind of throws Lashley under the bus, and he even kind of throws out a little line there. I was like, ooh, I hope they don't go there. But he said something like, why would someone like Lashley get a title shot? And I was like, oh, please don't tell me they're going to do that. But I think he just meant, why is somebody getting a shot when you're the former champion who got screwed or whatever? Seems like you'd be ahead of Lashley type of thing. And he proposes that they work together, and Drew says basically, fuck you. And then McIntyre is scheduled to face Sheamus to open the show in the first match of the show. So I think Miz and Morrison leave, and we got Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. And this match was real good, went about 25 minutes, and they beat the hell out of each other. A little bit surprised. I thought they might book this for Fastlane, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case here. This was a good, what I consider, I guess, based on the match, how the match was booked and how it was structured, it felt like a blow-off to me. I don't know what you do with these guys more. I mean, there's always going to be that rivalry, but there's really nothing left to prove for McIntyre after this victory here, even though Sheamus put up a really good fight. Lots of cool stuff in this match, despite the hard hitting. Really cool spot where Sheamus, he basically like skins the cat up the top rope, and then Drew at the same time, simultaneously while that's happening, Drew does like a kip up, and then he hits Sheamus with a kick, and then does like a running Beal off the top rope, which is a really good spot. A middle rope white noise to Sheamus, executed by Drew, which was really sick. And as soon as they hit the mat, the ref was immediately there to check on Sheamus before he started counting to ensure, I guess, that Sheamus could kick out of that. In the end, a pretty good spot here. They're both setting up for their move, because their moves are similar. Sheamus is setting up for the bro kick. Drew is setting up for the Claymore. It's like a gunfight here, and they both go for their moves, but Drew beats him to the punch. Claymore Sheamus, and gets the win. And I suppose, assumingly, might be ending this rivalry, at least for the time being. I guess a rivalry like this between two former best friends that now hate each other, that's really not just going to die away. That might always exist, but at least for right now, I don't know what McIntyre and Sheamus really have left to do. But that was a really, really solid opening match for Monday Night Raw, and much better than I thought it would be. Good stuff there by both guys. We also had Nia Jax defeating Naomi right after that. Pretty much a squash there. I guess I wasn't paying much attention to this match. Did they have some sort of friendship or backstage relationship between Nia Jax and Naomi? Because it seemed like Nia was slightly concerned about having to put down her friend, but I didn't really catch what was going on there. And by that point, we had the Lashley and Miz match that was going to be at the top of the hour. I guess they announced that. When did they announce that? Oh, that's right. I forgot that earlier in the opening segment there, when Miz was out there with Morrison. MVP came out after that, and he made the announcement that Miz is going to have to defend the title, not in the main event, but at the top of the hour. So he's basically got an hour, just like last week, and they kind of started the countdown clock. Then we went into the Sheamus and McIntyre match. After that, we got Nia Jax and Naomi, and then it was the top of the first hour, or the top of the second hour, which means we get the Miz versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. Lashley comes out to the ring first. Miz does not come out. His music plays. Some time goes by. He still doesn't come out, so you figured he's trying to pull some shit here. They cut backstage. Miz is like hunched up against the production crates there, and he's holding his intestinal region, and he says he's got cramps, and he's just pretending to be sick. It's ridiculous. Kind of was, remember when Edge and Christian, I think it was Christian, who was trying to get out of a match, and he was in the toilet, pouring water in the toilet to make it sound like he was puking. But Miz is just kind of holding his abdomen, and he's like, I don't feel good. And, go in the women's locker room, Miz. I'm sure there's some Midol in there. Shouldn't be hard to find. But Adam Pearce shows up then, and Morrison's trying to put over that Miz is sick and he can't go. I'm just too sick. I just need more time, one more week. And Pearce is like, all right, I'll give you another hour, but you're going to defend the title tonight. Now you're going to defend it at 10 p.m. So Miz now has another hour until he gets to that. So I kind of like the way Miz was just doing everything he could to get out of this match. And really, when you look at it, at the end result here, the right result did happen based on how they were building this up throughout the whole night, even though I was feeling it that most of the night I was feeling that we weren't going to see a new WWE champion, but we did. Yeah, right. 15 years in the making. Couldn't be happier for him either, man. Before we get into the Strowman stuff, because that shit is weird. Strowman and Miz or Strowman and Shane, I should say, and everything going on there with Adam Pearce. All that is very odd to me. So we're going to get into that next, but let me knock out a couple of super chats. Chris Ludecki is here. Appreciate the $2, brother. Thank you very much. And same goes for Thomas or Tomas. Thank you for the $9.99. Extremely happy for Lashley, but not going to lie, disappointed Miz wasn't given a proper second reign. He 100% deserves it. Congrats to Lashley. Nonetheless, yeah, I kind of agree. I don't agree with this time, though. I have in the past been open to the Miz getting another crack at being champion because his run in 2011, I just think was too early and nobody accepted him throughout the years. He's matured and grown a lot as an entertainer. He's very good on the mic. He's a good guy for WWE to have. He's one of their big publicity guys. He's one of their faces of the company. And provided that we don't have too many other monsters on top right now, but right now you got like Roman and Lashley and McIntyre dominating the scene. There's no room for the Miz. You know, I always envision the Miz getting his run at the title at a different time of year when maybe business is down anyway, or interest is slightly down, or I don't know, maybe some of the big name stars are off or doing other stuff. And it just kind of opened up the door for a reign to make more sense. But right now, it really doesn't, based on who the top competitors are. You know, now if they would have had Miz and Edge, maybe that would have made sense. But there's so much beef, you know, and ass kicking at the top right now. There's really no place for the Miz. So I was actually happy with him dropping the belt. But, you know, if the timing was right another time, I thought it was a couple of years ago. I thought maybe the timing was right late at the end of 2017 or 2018 or something like that, when, you know, Miz was starting to get a little bit more respect from the fans. And I had even come around on him a little bit. He had that one night where he had that passionate promo with Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack. Like around that time is when I would have been open to say, okay, put the belt on him, see what he can do. But right now there's just, you know, there's a lot of good looking guys at the top in terms of just overall badassness. And that to me is where the Miz doesn't fit in. And that's why I'm so happy that they didn't try to pull any shit and have him, excuse me, escape Bobby Lashley somehow, because there's no way that Lashley should lose that match. As long as he can get his hands on the Miz, there should be no escape. And there wasn't. And I think that was the right way to go there. Yo, Nando Lopez, what's up, man? Greetings from Greenville, North Carolina. Yeah, I don't know where these Bret Hart rumors are coming from, but no, he didn't. Anybody who says that will be let out of or put in timeout. Should I hide you or put you in timeout? Count to 10, bitch, and don't come back. Got a Looney Tune 22 $2 super chat in here. I'm so happy for Lashley, second black WWE champion. I know, I'm very happy for Lashley too. Deserves it. Oh yeah, Nando, I got you from G Vegas, man. Greetings from G Vegas. ECU, man, what a fun time in my life. I just did a watch along last night. Thank you to everybody who has joined us for that, by the way, of WrestleMania 17. I was living in that town during WrestleMania 17. MVP did wonders for the Hurt Business. I agree. Feel bad for Sheamus. Sheamus put up a good fight, though, tonight. I mean, that was... Sheamus, much like The Miz, I'd be perfectly open to him as well, because right around the time Miz was champion for the first time, so was Sheamus, right around that year or two period there. So I'd be open to Sheamus getting a crack at the title again as well. It's just right now it feels like too much is going on. There's too much awesomeness at the top, and I think when the time is right, then yeah, you know, you could do that with Sheamus, but he kind of hit his stride here a little bit with the bad timing, and some of the best matches he's had has been in the last year. Like I've really liked and appreciated Sheamus as a wrestler in this past year, where I never really did as much before, you know. So he's been having good matches. He's got good chemistry with a lot of guys, and he just works his ass off. And he's another guy that's like 40 years old and that is still just crushing it out there. So we have the utmost respect for Sheamus on this channel. But again, you know, in terms of putting the title around his waist right now, and you know, putting the company behind him, I just don't see it. Just don't feel like it's his place right now. Especially with how they are handling Lashley. My God. Anyway, after the first Miz and Lashley attempt, we got a Braun Strowman promo. Strowman's still pissed off about the Elimination Chamber. He said, the Elimination Chamber sucked because I wasn't in it or whatever. And here's where it gets weird. So Shane McMahon comes out, and I know they've had some interactions on TV in the past couple of weeks, but I guess I haven't been paying attention to how weird this is. So Shane comes out, and he's talking in a very condescending tone, very... conceited or elite type I'm better than you type of attitude or snark to him, and talked about how he's been taking courses and reading and doing all this shit about conflict resolution, and he's basically talking down to Strowman, even insulting his intellect a couple of times, and says that Strowman needs to work on his conflict management and resolution, and that he needs to work with management. And if he won't work with management, then they will force him to work with management. And he goes, you got all mad about Adam Pearce for making the match, but it wasn't Adam Pearce. It was me. I made the match. I made this tag match for tonight. And he goes on to reveal that Braun's partner is going to be Adam Pearce. And Braun's like, well, that sucks. And then Shane continues to sell the idea about why Braun needs to conform or whatever the fuck he's talking about, and says that this tag match that he's going to book is also going to be a tag team title match. And then Braun's like kind of cool with that. He's like, all right, as long as he just does what I say. And the match is on. So the Hurt Business comes out there, and we're going to get Braun Strowman and Adam Pearce against the Hurt Business. Adam Pearce doesn't even attempt to get himself ready for any sort of in-ring action. Doesn't even take his blazer off. I know he doesn't have his gear on or anything, but it feels like if you're going to be in a tag team match for a championship, you'd at least like take your jacket off or kind of get ready, maybe untuck your shirt a little bit. I don't know. Get ready to do some moving around in there. But I guess on the orders of Strowman, he just wanted, Adam Pearce to kind of stay put on the apron and don't do shit. And he pretty much dominates Cedric and Shelton the whole time, which is kind of freaking me out, because I'm like, if there's one thing Strowman is good at, it's winning tag team championships with unconventional partners. So I did not want to see this happening. I was hoping for a Nicholas run in and he'd come and help out the Hurt Business. But in the end, Strowman just kills everybody. I think he's got Cedric down for the pin. And then Shane, after he's been real subdued and real calm, hops up on the apron like a fucking madman. He starts screaming at Strowman to tag in Adam Pearce. Tag him in, tag him in. And Strowman, like an idiot, I mean, maybe Shane was right when he insulted him and talked about how dumb he was, because you'd think that Strowman, who's a guy who's very aggressive and wants what he wants and does what he wants and isn't going to be influenced by anybody or whatever, why did he listen to Shane there? That made Braun Strowman look really stupid for him to say, fine, I'll tag in Adam Pearce or whatever. He should have been like, no, fuck you, Shane. I'm going to pin him right here and win the championships, and then you can go crazy. We'll talk later, but let me win this belt real quick. But instead, he agrees and he tags in Adam Pearce. Oh, I think it is Shelton Benjamin, actually, that he has down. And he tags in Adam Pearce, and then Shelton immediately hooks him, rolls him up, and scores a quick 1-2-3 on him. And the Hurt Business retain the titles, and Strowman's all pissed, but he's got nobody to blame but himself. The only person that's responsible for that loss is Strowman, because he's fucking dumb. But what do you think this means? Are we going to get Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman? Shane McMahon randomly popped up on TV a couple of weeks back, and I was like, feels like he's setting up a Mania match. At first, I thought it might be against Drew McIntyre. Now it feels like Strowman's going to be tied into this, which would make sense. Strowman could just take Shane all the way up to the top of the stadium and just chuck him right off the fucking roof. Wouldn't be surprised. Or we could see something with Adam Pearce too. Maybe we could see Strowman versus Pearce and Shane in a handicap match or something. Either way, this feels like some sort of WrestleMania shit involving Strowman and involving Shane McMahon. Maybe they're going to tap into sort of what Shane did back in the day with the Big Show. As long as he says, which way did he go? At least one time, I'll be a happy guy, regardless of what they're doing in this weird-ass angle. I don't know. But what do you think this is leading to? Is it Shane and Strowman, Shane and Pearce? Triple threat? Are we going to get a swerve, heel turn of any kind? Because Shane, I'm still not quite sure his role. He's in an authority role, as we would see later, as he threatened to strip The Miz. But I don't know, how long this is going to last, if he's going to be the on-air role or not, because one of the things that confused me about his return to TV, I'm always happy to see Shane. I don't dislike Shane or anything, but it seemed really out of place. We already have a dude that's there handling the business shit, Adam Pearce. That's his on-screen character. For Shane to come in and now just step in front of him like that, I mean, his last name is McMahon, so obviously he can do what he wants, but why wasn't he here in October doing shit when Adam was, had the same role, essentially? So why come back now? Feels like the only reason why he's back is to set up a WrestleMania match. So regardless of what's going on here with Shane, his role and his purpose on the show right now does not feel like it's very well thought through. I think they're just throwing him out there to set something up for WrestleMania so he can dive off some shit at the show. That feels like really all this is. But his demeanor is a little bit different. He is a little bit more soft-spoken kind of thing, in his, when he's talking to Braun and all that. So I don't know what this means. I guess he's doing a lot of reading and he's taking courses. is what Shane is doing. And now he thinks he's king shit and smarter than everybody. So we'll have to see, where it goes. But let me know what you think. At WrestleMania, Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman, I don't see it. Lashley beat him clean as a whistle last week on Raw. I'm not saying it can't happen, so Rush, you could be right, but I personally have no desire to see that match again. I don't like Strowman, so I don't want him anywhere near the title. After that, we got a Bad Bunny and Damien Priest backstage segment with Elias and Jackson Riker. Elias pitches a duet or a duo or some shit with Bad Bunny. They could collaborate, work together, and release, the greatest single of all time. And Bad Bunny, of course, says, go fuck yourself. Right after that, we get Damien Priest versus Elias. Pretty good match here. I thought this was just going to be a showcase for Damien Priest and a virtual squash of Elias. And there was no doubt in my mind going into this match who was going to win. As a matter of fact, as soon as we came back from commercial, I just wrote in my Raw notes here, Damien Priest defeats Elias. The winner was never in question. But Elias put up a much better fight than I thought. So it was actually a pretty good match. Damien Priest wins. It looks like you guys got to help me. Did they change the name of his finisher? I would have sworn the name of his finisher was the Reckoning, that Sister Abigail type looking thing that he has. But maybe because of Reckoning and Retribution, they don't want that and they called it something else. Help me. Am I right about that, or I just not know what the hell I'm talking about? More Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss Fiend shenanigans after this. This I kind of liked a little bit. Last week was a little weird. We saw Randy Orton coughing up the black ooze. It got Papa Shango trending on Twitter because, of course, we saw something a little bit similar with the Ultimate Warrior and Papa Shango, about 30 years ago now or whenever that was. So that was kind of fun from last week, but this week was even better. Randy Orton he's cutting a promo, he's backstage, and he even kind of he admits that he doesn't know what the hell happened last week, but he knows that Alexa Bliss played a role, and so he's really kind of targeting her right now, even more so than The Fiend, and he seems a little bit spooked by the whole thing, but he's not backing down, and he's going to eliminate this distraction. He's going to eliminate this threat at some point, Alexa Bliss, and it seems like she's the one that he is targeting. As he's talking, Alexa Bliss appears on the screen behind him. She's like sitting there in her little circle and a little box with that pentagram or whatever it is on it. And she's all creepy. And then Randy Orton himself appears on the screen, and he seems like possessed, and he's basically talking to himself. And Randy is real freaked out now, and then starts spitting up the weird shit again and starting convulsing and everything. But to see like Randy Orton talking to himself there, I'm like, are we going full SummerSlam 1994 here? Are we going to get Randy Orton versus Randy Orton? We need to get Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy on the case. They can be our super sleuths to solve the mystery of The Fiend and Alexa Bliss and whatever the hell they're doing to Randy Orton here. So this is more fun. Obviously, nothing is going to come to a head here until WrestleMania, so you got some time. We got a good 6 weeks here for more build here, so I guess it's more and more weird shit until you finally get to that match, whatever it's going to be. And based on everything that's happening here, this is taking a darker turn. And I mentioned this last week that we know we're going to get some sort of a crazy gimmick match, but I'm not sold on this thing being a Firefly Funhouse match. I don't think there's going to be anything fun about this, because last year, a big part of the Fiend and John Cena match was fun. It was lighthearted. Cena's the NWO guy, the muscle dance. At some points in the match, they were even cooperating with each other, and it had a comical aspect to it. I do not see that for this, at least based on the build so far. So whatever they do at WrestleMania has got to be gnarly, and I hope that it's real dark and real sadistic and shit. And I really like the idea that we talked about over the weekend of potentially not seeing this new Fiend or this new look that he's likely going to be debuting. We don't even see that until WrestleMania. I think that might be the way to go. Just have Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss do the majority of the build, and then kind of like how they did Kane and Undertaker back at WrestleMania 20. We didn't see the dead man until WrestleMania, even though we knew he was coming back. And they basically did the whole build for the match with magic tricks, so you could kind of do that here too if you wanted. And the very first time we see the Fiend in person and in the flesh, the charred flesh, will be at WrestleMania. I'm into that idea. So anyway, this is pretty good stuff. I liked it. It's weird and it's wacky, and why not? It's wrestling, right? So that sounds fun. Orton versus Bliss, says Joseph Smith, for $2. I can see that happening too, maybe. Or Orion versus Bliss. No, I think you mean Orton. Speaking of Randy Orton, I have gotten my wish the past couple of weeks, ever since Randy Orton tweeted this out one time, or I think he put it on Instagram. that he was like, get me on Broken Skull Sessions. Yo, Steve Austin, what the hell? How come you haven't invited me on the show? I'd be one of your best guests. And as soon as I saw that from him, I've been immediately on board with that idea and haven't shut the fuck up about it. Yeah, I was even slightly wondering why they were giving us Sasha Banks so close after Bayley when there's somebody like Randy Orton just sitting there. Well, it has been announced he will be coming to Broken Skull Sessions this month in the month of March. I didn't catch the date on that, but it is coming up. Randy Orton on Broken Skull Sessions, the stories. Who knows how deep they'll dive with Randy? You know, there are some things that I am very curious about. I'm curious how he worked off that wellness policy violation. I think he had 4, supposed to be fired after 3. So I'm curious, like, what went on there with that. And I know he's always owned up to some of his attitude problems. And, you know, he's a guy that has, you know, had the maturity issues when he was young, but has grown into a fine professional and a great person now. I think he's probably one of the better examples of people who have learned from their past mistakes and stuff and past behaviors. And, you know, it was a little bit of a choppy and rocky road for him when he was young, but, you know, he grew up, he matured. And when he fucked up, you know, we remember there were pockets of time during his WWE career when he was jobbing. I remember just Wade Barrett beat him in like a 4-minute match on Raw one time. Just hit him with the forearm, goes down, boom, pinned him 1, 2, 3 like it was nothing. Right in the middle of Raw. Back in like 09 or I don't know when, 2010 or 11, something like that. Back when Randy Orton was in the doghouse. So I just think his stories are going to be really interesting from his, you know, time. I mean, Ace Orton is one of my favorite 80s wrestlers of all time. So he's got a lot to say in terms of his family with his dad and grandpa. But, you know, also, you know, growing up, he had that issue. I think didn't he go AWOL or something, had to do some time in a military deal there. So he had a lot of interesting stuff growing up in the business and then his young life and then getting into the business and being so good looking and being so athletic and so talented and full of so much potential, so young, you know, and the mistakes made along the way, but also the heights that he made it to, winning the WWE title or the World Heavyweight title at like age 24 or whatever he was when he beat Benoit. And he's had a ton of success and I cannot wait to hear that episode. So anyway, Randy Orton will be on Broken Skull Sessions later on in the month of March, and I can't freaking wait. All right, back to Raw. After the Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss stuff, we had The Miz defending the WWE title against Bobby Lashley again. This time, Miz gets out there. Lashley hits the ring first. They actually do Miz's introduction. He comes out there. He gets on the mic, and he echoes a lot of what I've been saying in the past couple of days, ever since Drew dropped the belt. I was like, look, I think WrestleMania, because I'm so Team Lashley right now, I think WrestleMania might be a more fun place for him to win the title than just on a random Monday Night Raw. And that's kind of what Miz pitched here. He's like, you should wait and get your chance at WrestleMania, the grandest stage. And Bobby Lashley and MVP was like, nope, it's happening right now. So they didn't back down at all. So they get in the ring, they do the introductions, bell rings. Miz runs out of the ring, grabs the title, and runs like a bitch right up the ramp, right out of the arena to a waiting car. It's just like Earl Hebner at the Montreal Screwjob. Gone. So he's counted out. Bobby Lashley wins. I'm surprised they didn't do a SummerSlam 1993 celebration where balloons come down and they lift Lashley on their shoulders and he celebrates. But Miz runs away and escapes. So I think we go to commercial. We come backstage. MVP and Lashley are pissed. They're talking to Shane McMahon. And Shane goes on to say that they're going to do the match again. He goes, I'll tell you what, Miz is going to defend the WWE title in the main event. If he does not show up for the main event, I will consider stripping the Miz of the title. So you knew that was like right from the word go here, right when they announced that was going to be at the 9 o'clock hour. You knew it was going to be bumped and then bumped again, and we would still get that in the main event. So here you go. Miz now has an ultimatum. Get your ass back to the arena, or you're likely going to be stripped of the title. Here's a segment I didn't pay a ton of attention to, except for one really sick spot here. The Charlotte Flair promo. Charlotte comes out, she's talking. I didn't even really listen to her, to be honest. That's when I started getting ready for the stream. I was distracted. But I did happen to see the replay of what happened to Asuka. I had no idea she got all her teeth knocked out a couple of weeks ago. We've kind of been joking with WWE. Yo, where's Asuka? She's Raw Women's Champion. Did you guys forget she's on the, on the roster? Maybe she's been off dealing with that, because they showed a replay of what happened in that match with Shayna Baszler kicking Asuka's face, and you see the teeth break off and fly up in the air. It is so gnarly. I was like, oh my God. It was about as close as we've gotten to the Cesaro shit at SummerSlam since then, and nothing's gonna ever top what happened to poor Cesaro and his chicklets. But man, Asuka got nailed hard. So best wishes out to Asuka. Poor thing. That's no fun, and I had no idea about that. But anyway, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax then come out. They start talking some shit, and then a little bit of a brawl ensues. Go to commercial. We come back, and we've got Charlotte Flair versus Shayna Baszler. Again, this is a match that's pay-per-view caliber for me, but they're giving it away on Raw, and it wasn't even that exciting. Charlotte won with the natural selection, and Shayna Baszler's stock has dropped unbelievably far since being the dominant NXT Women's Champion. Coming in, it started last year. She didn't beat Becky at WrestleMania, and it has not been a very good road for her. She's just a run-of-the-mill, she's one of their top-tier talents, but she doesn't give off that dominance anymore. I think Asuka has even managed to remain a little bit more of her NXT mystique than Shayna has. So I'm not against Charlotte, though. I'm not one of those fans that just automatically hates her. I actually like Charlotte, and I'm usually in pretty big defense of her. And even in here, if Charlotte versus Shayna Baszler, of course, WWE is going to put Charlotte over Baszler. It's not necessarily that. I just wish that Baszler was a little bit more important on the roster. She's a tough chick. She's a badass, and we've seen that from her before. She choked out everybody in that Elimination Chamber match that one time. She's so awesome, and I just wish WWE saw that too, but they don't. We go backstage again. Shane McMahon is telling Adam Pearce to go inform Bobby Lashley that he'll be champ if Miz no-shows. So he is going to make it official. Shane, I guess before, was thinking about stripping the Miz, but then he decided that he will in fact strip the Miz if he no-shows, and he instructed Pierce to go inform Lashley of these changes. After that, we get a six-man. We got Riddle teaming up with the Lucha Bros, or Lucha House Party, excuse me. They're taking on Retribution. Retribution, correct me if I'm wrong, did they get the bitch entrance tonight? I think they got the jobber entrance, because I just turned around and Riddle was making his entrance, and I'm like, oh, Retribution's already in the ring, unless I was asleep. I don't know, but it didn't look like Retribution got much of an entrance at all. And they won. They beat Retribution. Ali is all pissed off again, and he's really targeting Matt Riddle, and he wants a match with him. So we go to commercial, we come back, and we get Ali versus Riddle, which wasn't a bad little match. In the end, Ali actually won with lots of distraction from Retribution, who all remained at ringside during this match. And he won with, I don't even know what it was, just some sort of a top rope fall. And Ali kind of flipped. It looked scary at first, but he wasn't. I thought he was going to land on his head, but he didn't. They just basically took a pretty nasty spill to the mat, and Ali was able to pin Riddle for the win there. So that's that. We go backstage again, and Shane McMahon and Adam Pearce are in the backstage area. Miz shows up. He looks like he kind of ran in, so he must have been like in the car leaving, and he comes back to the building, and he kind of is a little bit pissed now, and he's pissed at Shane. He says he demands to be shown respect. He's the champion. He should be treated like a champion, which is funny because you got to act like a champion too. You can't be a little bitch like you were, Miz. So Shane kind of has none of that. I mean, these guys were WrestleMania opponents, right, at WrestleMania 35. So, I mean, there's a big history there between those guys. But Shane is having none of it, and he's like, look, you're going to have to go out there and wrestle Lashley, and you can't get away, and if you try any shit, and he's going to make a stipulation, but he's not going to let him know what that stipulation is until later, which is funny. So now we get to the match. Now it's match time. Now it's main event. The Miz defending the WWE title against Bobby Lashley for the third and final time on the night, and both guys make their entrances. Miz, he's looking around. He knows he's fucked, and I think they do both announcements, and right before the bell rings, that's when Shane McMahon's music hits. So they kept teasing you. They kept making you think that they really weren't going to do this. Like something was going to happen. I thought Shane was going to come out there and turn heel or something like that and screw Bobby Lashley over, even though this is a heel versus heel match. I thought that Shane was going to do something, and then Shane went on to announce that the stipulation in the match is going to be a lumberjack match, and he literally sent the entire roster minus Drew McIntyre out there. Everybody's there, including Retribution, this faction that wants to take down the WWE. They're just going out there doing what they're told. Okay, I'll go be a lumberjack, like even though it makes no fucking storyline sense, they're out there, which was funny. And so was Riddle, and so was Ali, and so was a lot of guys. Sheamus, I think, was out there as well. So they're in the ring now, and Miz, he does his best at first to avoid Bobby Lashley. He spends a lot of time in the corner on the outside of the ring, eventually jumps down on the apron, but I think it's Drew Gulak who winds up tossing him back in the ring. Before that, he even tried to get a jump on Bobby Lashley and swing the title at him, and Lashley ducked yanked it out of his hand. So Miz, there was like nowhere for him to run, which was great. So he tries to avoid him. He gets tossed back in. Lashley finally gets his hands on the Miz and just starts working him over, just beating the shit out of him in the corner. Miz bails again, gets thrown back in the ring again. Lashley just continues to punish him. Miz got in 0.0 offense here, literally nothing, running for his life the whole time, had nowhere to go. Eventually, after a couple of minutes, Lashley just picks up the Miz, locks in the hurt lock, breaks his fucking neck with it like only Bobby Lashley can. Miz submits, new WWE champion. Holy shit. Didn't see that coming. That's awesome. Happy for Lashley, man. What a celebration for him. He's going to look great with that belt. We saw a taste of that last week when he annihilated The Miz and he kind of celebrated with the title. I'm like, man, if that's a sign of things to come, that is a very good combination. Bobby Lashley and some World Championship gold. Yes, please. So we've got that now. Now Lashley is the champion. Not the way I thought they were going to do it. If the end result was to put the belt on Lashley, I saw a whole different path leading to the title for him. For those of you who listen to this podcast on the regular, you know that my path to the title for Lashley ended at SummerSlam, not Raw 6 weeks before WrestleMania. So I'm all thrown off my game now. I don't know which way is up. And I also don't know what it means for WrestleMania. I obviously, this is great for Lashley. This is an accolade and a championship that he's deserved for well over a decade now. And it's a crime that it took them this long to make Lashley into something. He's marrying Lana, like I said, in obstacle courses with Sami Zayn. What the fuck? This guy has always been here, looking this way, being this badass. And when they put that Hurt Business together and they paired him with MVP and they finally made him a badass, it was always hard to really accept him as one, even with, his time in the armed forces and stuff, and the legitimate fighting experience that he has, and how he could probably kill anybody, a lot like Apollo Crews until his attitude changed too. He kind of had that just very kind of inviting smile and nice face, and he didn't have that intimidating look. But that all changed with the Hurt Business. Kind of changed his gear up a little bit. Finally has that killer instinct, that attitude. I think the Hurt Lock, the full Nelson, is excellent finisher for somebody like him. Like who Hercules had that, Billy Jack had that. Those big beefy guys that can just and it's a really good finisher for him, because he literally beats you into submission, and that's what makes him so badass. And now, with him champion, I'm just worried that they could put the belt on McIntyre. I'm a big McIntyre fan. I like McIntyre. I was all behind him running with the title this year, but I kind of like Lashley more, at least at this juncture. So I don't want to see Lashley go to Mania now and drop it to McIntyre and Raymond James. Unless he gets it back or something. But with Lashley now as the champion, that does immediately set up one potential dream match in the future in our heads that could happen, provided Lashley hangs on to the title. And that's one guy, who I'm thinking about: Brock Lesnar and Lashley. That would be phenomenal. And I don't know, man. I don't want to see Brock come back and beat Lashley, but, I think that Brock is going to have to win some matches when he finally returns. He's not going to just come back and job to everybody at this point. He will be winning. I just hope that whenever they give us the Lashley and Brock match, that maybe Lashley can win. But I'm concerned. I really don't know. It feels like WWE is done. They've hot potatoed this belt a little bit. It went from Drew to Orton, back to Drew. Then Miz took it. Week later, drops it to Lashley. Now, potentially, the writing could be on the wall for him to pass it back to Drew at WrestleMania in a scenario that I've mentioned several times. Drew made no bones about the fact that he was bummed out and disappointed that he didn't get his moment last year at WrestleMania, until he kind of thought better of it and then accepted it, and accepted the situation and made the best of it, type of thing. But in his own admission, that he was like, I kind of wanted that moment and they're going to go with me, and instead I had to do it in this performance center and it sucked. So maybe that's something WWE wants to give back to him. But that would mean that Lashley would be a transitional champion. That would mean all this protection they've done with Lashley for the past 6-7 months is only going to lead up to him being pinned at WrestleMania. Not my ideal scenario. Why not make two guys? Why not have him beat Drew McIntyre and retain at WrestleMania? Is it really going to hurt Drew that much? No, they've already wrestled. I think Lashley got a shot at the title last year, didn't he? And Drew beat him. So payback time, So if it's up to me, Lashley's retaining beyond WrestleMania. Kind of in the same way, the same idea I had for Roman retaining over Edge. I'm not so sure now. If both of these titles are going to get retained, I feel like at the very least one is going to change hands. So I don't know. I need WrestleMania ideas. I need scenarios. I need your call for WrestleMania. What do you think is going to happen? By the way, for those of you who are here right now, since we have a pretty decent audience, smash the thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. And hit me with a like. I'd very much appreciate it. Yeah, Lashley should have won it way back in 2007. I mean, you could somewhat argue that he wasn't quite ready then, but I think he was. I kind of think he was. He certainly had the look and the size, and he was every bit as good as Batista was around that time in his career, if not better. So, yeah, I guess I kind of agree with that in 2007. He was pretty hot. He was involved in that Vince McMahon and Steve Austin WrestleMania match with Umaga and stuff. So, he's always been capable. I mean, TNA, featured him in that role, but, when he came back to WWE, it was like you were initially excited, and I remember he worked with Roman in like the summer of 2018 or something, right, at a pay-per-view, and I think he lost. But either way, it's like it felt a lot like 07. It felt like a lot like 07 when he worked with Cena. I remember that match. That was Great American Bash, I think. That was right after Benoit died. And he worked that pretty good match with Cena, but Cena beat him. Well, that's what we're trying to talk about here, Sri, is who is going to face Bobby at WrestleMania. Right now, it feels like it's obviously going to be Drew, unless they really do something crazy here. Yeah, Bobby Lashley's title win draws. It draws for me. It might not draw for everybody, but I like it. I've always been a Lashley fan. And looking back, now that it's over, I mean, I'm glad that The Miz didn't survive. I think that was the right call for The Miz to just go down here, because it made the most realistic sense. It wouldn't have made sense for him to somehow escape a victory here unless he did what he did earlier. And that is, run away with the title and then just not come back. And then you could book, a rematch type of scenario for Fastlane, which is what I thought they were going to lead up to. I thought whatever they did tonight would build to Fastlane, and whatever they did at Fastlane would build to WrestleMania. It would kind of be like that. But now we got to wonder about Fastlane. That's coming up. What do you do on the Fastlane side of things? Does Miz come out now next week and say, I was screwed, the deck was stacked against me, so I want a shot to win my title back with the deck stacked against him? They could do that in a really fun rematch. Shane, I don't know how they would work this out in storyline for Shane to actually go along with this, but they could do something to where Lashley now has to face The Miz, because otherwise, why would The Miz even care? If I'm in The Miz's shoes, I'm like, look, I lost my title. I guess I just lost my title. It ain't worth getting murdered by this monster to try to get it back. So, okay, Bobby, you can have it. I'll go off and fuck around with Bad Bunny. But if Miz does get one more shot, they could do something crazy to where all of the odds are in his favor. Maybe they could do a 2-on-1 deal, Morrison, and that would be a good way to kind of tease more tension with Morrison and Miz if they ever split them up. But you could do Lashley versus Morrison and Miz for the title at Fastlane, and Lashley just beats them both, beats Miz and Morrison both, pins them both on top of each other, and just further confirms his dominance at the top and whatever. And then maybe Drew goes on to face him after that. So it could be that. Maybe Drew just automatically faces the winner of whoever wins at Fastlane. You could do the Bad Bunny thing. I said all along that nobody needs help to beat The Miz, so I can't see Bad Bunny coming out there and screwing The Miz unless you get some sort of really whack-ass stipulation here where it's, The Miz and 10 guys against Lashley. Then maybe Bad Bunny comes in for a distraction or something like that. But, aside from that, I think The Miz should just let it go and not worry about Fastlane and just live to be a douche another day, because based on the dominance of Bobby Lashley right now, he's the last person I'd be wanting to get in the ring with, title or no title. So that leaves something open for Fastlane for whatever they're going to do there. I can't see them doing Lashley and Drew at Fastlane. Then what the fuck do you do at Mania? So I don't know. I don't know how we get there. I don't know, Jonathan Coleman. That's an excellent question there. I don't know who AJ Styles is going to face at WrestleMania either. I feel like AJ, he's been somewhat protected too. This is a guy that doesn't take clean losses at all, and he wrestled The Undertaker last year. So if he's going to have a big high profile match against somebody, I don't know who that could be against. Your guess is as good as mine. I'd love for some ideas on that. Would love to see AJ in a nice, fun, high-profile match. I've enjoyed all of his WrestleMania matches. The one with Shane was good. Even his first one with Jericho was good. His match with Nakamura was very good. So he's always done great shit at Mania. And he gave Undertaker his last match. So we'll see. Maybe he could get involved in that somehow in the title picture. But I don't know. I don't see it. You know, as much as I like AJ, much like, you know, Miz and Sheamus, I'm open to them being champion again. I'm open to AJ being champion again more than both of those guys. But none of the three of them really feel like they fit at the top right now, based on what's going on. I think Keith Lee is... Oh, yeah, AJ versus Triple H has been one that's been tossed around. That could happen. But again, they better get on the ball there if they're going to do that. Now you're going to have Triple H and Shane back. Are we going to get a Triple H and Shane match at WrestleMania? Both these fuckers are going to have matches? They might. But... that would be pretty cool, I suppose, and AJ would give him a good match. It might be a good way for Triple H to go out as well. Not saying it would be his last match or anything, but, you know, I'm not sure what Triple H can really do in the ring these days. The last couple of his outings have not been great. So against AJ, you're in there with AJ. AJ can make everything look wonderful. So he really is the modern day Shawn, and he's getting older now. He's going to be hanging it up pretty soon. But he's still going out there. He reminds us of Shawn a lot, because when Shawn hit that age, that 42, 43, 44, he was still every bit as capable of stealing the show at WrestleMania. So AJ is right at the end there. You know, I think we can pump out a couple more good solid years of AJ, and then that's probably going to have to be time to say goodbye to AJ. But between now and then, a lot of guys I'm sure going to want to work with him because of what he can do. So AJ and Triple H would be all right. It would be all right. I'm curious when Keith Lee comes back, because he lost out on his United States Championship shot, what he winds up doing, if we see a heel turn for him or anything like that. I would love to see him get involved and get behind Retribution somehow. His girlfriend, his fiance now, they are engaged, and WWE has acknowledged the relationship on TV. And that's why I thought it was so weird that he even had that match against Retribution that one week. I'm like, none of this shit makes any fucking sense at all. So maybe, you know, having Keith Lee join the group, or, you know, strengthen the group, since Ali seems to be a bit frustrated. Maybe that could happen for Lee. I don't know. A lot of up in the airs. Interpromotional match versus Daniel Bryan, maybe. But we have gotten that one a few times. We even had a title change between those guys. So maybe, but it would have to be just done kind of randomly. But it wouldn't be that much of a marquee match, because we've already seen it. WWE is better than the NBA. Oh yeah, James Storm was in and out. He's been in and out of NXT more than once. He's passed through there a couple times, but never stuck around. Might not be room for James Storm these days. Did you see that last recruiting class they had? We talked about that on Saturday. Jesus, man. Biggest one in history. So NXT could be on the verge of getting a lot better here soon, once some of these guys get trained and get out there, and we can see what they can do. Especially Steiner's son and that Parker guy. Yeah, AJ Styles never has won the Universal title. There's a lot of guys, though, that are even ahead of AJ. Yeah, it would be nice for AJ to get that feather in his cap, but WWE title would be just fine for AJ. I mean, that's pretty amazing. He's won that, 3 times or something? So, at least twice. And if I was AJ, I'd be content with that. Wouldn't worry too much. To me, the names that need to win the Universal title, there's bigger ones. There's John Cena and Randy Orton. I think those are 2 absolute must-haves for the Universal title's legacy. Oh, sorry, JJ. I missed a super chat. I'll scroll back up. I saw Joseph Smith's. Did I miss? Oh, yeah, there you are. Oh, I missed a couple. I missed one from Johnson. Let me scroll all the way up. Yep, I missed a couple of those. Sorry. I missed one from Nashan Johnson. Appreciate the $5. Yes, and you echoed what I just said there. You said that way before I did. But yeah, Bobby Lashley versus Brock is now at least temporarily a possibility, with Bobby Lashley being the WWE champion. That's an exciting prospect. I'm hoping we get that. And there's your $5 drop, JJ. Sorry about that. Appreciate it. Do you think if Edge wins the Universal title, they could change it back to the big gold, or rebrand it as the World Heavyweight Championship again? Would absolutely love that. Will they do it? No. I think as much as I love that big gold belt, I think WWE wants their big, ugly ass fucking logo all over that thing. So unless they revamp the World Heavyweight Championship and it can have a big WWE on it, then maybe. But I don't know if WWE really needs to be rebranding titles. If it was up to me, they would have just made it the World Heavyweight Championship to begin with. Once you start something, you look like an idiot if you stop it. So when they were rumored to be bringing back the second title way back in 2016, we talked about that right here on this channel on YouTube, and that was my hope. I'm like, all right, because I think Shane and Stephanie made the announcement that they're going to add a championship when they did the brand split shit again. And they said there was going to be a new title. And that was our first thought. Yes, big gold belt is coming back. World Heavyweight Championship is coming back. And then they announced that it was the Universal title. And then when they unveiled it, it was just the same damn title, but just red. And now it's blue. And it's so dumb. And it's so dumb. If they just would have done the big gold belt originally, that would have been great, but WWE is all about promoting their brand, and there was really no room for the logo on that thing, even though I think it would have been a nice callback to history for them to have the big gold belt, and why they wouldn't do that. They had it as a big part of their show for a lot of years there in the mid-2000s, and so it seemed like that would be the logical call there once they unified them with Cena and Orton back in 2013 or 14, whenever that was, just to bring it back and resurrect it. It's a belt that would draw a lot of appreciation from old school fans like me, because that is part of your audience too. I'm still 7 years away from being out of that demo. I'm still in the demo, and guys like me would appreciate. Guys and girls like me, my age, would appreciate the big gold belt again and bringing back the World Heavyweight Championship. But what fans want and what WWE wants are more often than not two completely different things. And what makes sense to us, WWE will always do the opposite. It's kind of their gimmick these days. Yeah, tell me about it, Shell Shock. Yeah, if it was up to me, we'd still have that Winged Eagle title out there. That's what Lashley would have won tonight. Oh my God, could you imagine Lashley with the Winged Eagle title? That would be badass. That would be badass. Yeah, I agree. Today's belts are ugly. I don't like any of them at all. Hate the Intercontinental title. U.S. title's okay. Not a huge fan of either world title at all, although they are better than the spinner belt. But yeah, and I don't like the tags either. I don't like anything they have. I don't like anything they have. Literally. NXT belt is okay. North American title, I don't like that either. It's too round and red for me. Yeah, I don't like any belts. They all suck. Bring back the old ones. Hey, Madeline, how are you? Good to see you in here. Welcome back. What'd you think of this nonsense tonight? Yeah, I mean, they could have, if they insisted on having the big logo on there, they could have made it silver or changed it up a little bit than just changing the color of the damn strap. And of course, WWE thinks nothing through, and then they switched the belt. So then when they made the big Universal, the big red belt, then they went to SmackDown like, oops, well, we got to make it blue now. They fucked it up so bad. WWE has poor belt management. Steve O's, I missed the black IC title. I got it hanging right in the background back there. That's been my favorite. That and the Winged Eagle. Johnny Vegas, I don't think so. I feel like Miz will pick up the feud with Bunny going into Mania. But maybe he could do something at Fastlane, and that's what we proposed earlier. Maybe you do have some sort of a Miz rematch to where, he feels like the deck was stacked against him tonight, so maybe he gets a stipulation in his favor for Fastlane, and that just, further goes on to display Lashley's dominance as he overcomes that, advantage by The Miz and retains the title with ease. Maybe after Miz is crawling his broken, bloody ass to the back, Bad Bunny's making fun of him, and then Miz gets all pissed, and boom, there you go. Bad Bunny and Miz and Morrison at WrestleMania with Damien Priest. Excuse me. Yeah, I liked the environmental title. That was great stuff with Daniel Bryan. I missed that. I think they sold the replica of that. Somebody paid $300 for burlap. Awesome. Antoine, good to see you, man. I thought the show was a good Raw storyline that then throw the show had a hook and 2-3 good matches. Yeah, exactly. It kept. I mean, if their goal tonight was to try to keep you tuned in, they accomplished that because you knew Miz was going to keep pulling some shit. So it was actually a smart way to book the whole thing. and without fucking it up at the end, for them to string us along only to just give us a fist up the ass at the end. That's what we're used to. So it was almost like it took me a second to really believe that Lashley actually won the title. I'm like, holy shit, they actually did it. They did the finish that made the most sense. There will be no match. It will not be a competitive match if Lashley gets his actual fingers on the Miz. Miz is dead. So as long as Lashley touches him, match over. There should be no way for the Miz to escape at all, unless he thumbs him in the eye and runs away again, but that's why the Lumberjacks were there. So there was really no way out for the Miz. There was no way out of that match. He wasn't going to be, unless a Lumberjack or more than one Lumberjack turned and helped him win or something. That was going to be the only way. And again, when the Lumberjacks came out there, I was looking at who the Lumberjacks were. I'm like, all right, which one of these guys is going to fuck over Lashley? And Drew wasn't out there. So Strowman was, which is weird. So I was worried he might jump in the ring, but I'm like, I think, I didn't see how they were going to do it. Once Miz was getting pummeled like that, I'm like, what are they going to do? Something's got to happen. It's 2 minutes till the top of the hour. The show's about to go off the air, and Miz is getting his ass kicked. Like, something's got to happen really fast. And it was funny, too, at the end of the match, if you notice, the WWE, I think they kept teasing us here, because after Lashley won, referee called for the bell. He's celebrating. He continues to attack the Miz. He puts him in the hurt lock again. And that's when I thought Shane would get on the mic and reverse the decision and say, nope, you took it too far. I'm reversing the decision. You are now disqualified. Still WWE champion, The Miz. And he would have that like like what Lawler did to Brett at 93, when Brett wouldn't relinquish the sharpshooter. And then they call for the bell or they call for the bell. Brett won't break the hold, even though he won the match. And then they reverse the decision, award the match for Lawler or to Lawler. And as Lawler's being rolled away on the stretcher, he's like raising his hand like he's the winner. Like, having Miz do something like that, I thought was what they were going to do. Again, I was like, oh shit, don't do a reversal. And then he let him go. And then he went over to him and put his boot on his chest and celebrated. And that was all awesome. So I kept thinking that WWE was going to, even though Lashley won the title, they would do something to where Miz would leave tonight with it. And they didn't. Miz is no longer the champion, and I might finally be able to get some sleep tonight. That is a good feeling to know that fucker is no longer the WWE champion. I just wasn't ready for that at WrestleMania time. Like I said earlier, I'm open to him being champion again, but the timing was way off here. And now the briefcase is gone, that thread is gone, and we can focus on The Miz doing things that we're used to The Miz doing, like fucking around with celebrities. So that's probably what it's going to be. Triple threat, Drew, Lashley, Brock. I'd be into that maybe. Not for WrestleMania, though. I think it should just be a one-on-one, just big clash there. And the first time Lashley and Brock face each other, I'd rather it be one-on-one than a triple threat. But that match, just any old day down the road, sure, triple threat would probably be fun. I'd be into that. Yeah, Antoine, I think you're right. You felt Bobby was holding back on the emotion. There was one pick. When I was trying to update the thumbnail before I went live here, I was scrolling through Twitter and stuff, trying to find something good without having to go screenshot my own, which takes an extra amount of time. So I'm trying to find something good. And there was one shot of Lashley celebrating with the title, and you can see in his eyes that it's a big deal. I mean, it's stuff like that. I like to see that. I mean, I'm an old school fan. I've been following Lashley's career forever. When you watch somebody like that and you watch them for years and you want so badly for them to succeed because you see what they can do, you see their potential. We've had years of frustration of how WWE's handled him, and you want that so bad for him, and then it comes true and you see him have that moment. Thunderdome or no Thunderdome, it's a pretty special feeling, and it's something that he should have had, all along. And it's a very short list, of black WWE champions as well. And for him to get this, he's a modern day Ron Simmons in a lot of ways. He's just a jacked, big, strong athlete who can wrestle and understands wrestling and deserves, everything he gets. He's a great, probably a great person to have in the locker room in terms of like from a role model perspective, because he's had such a fulfilling life. He's done so much, and he's not a one-dimensional person at all in terms of the things he can do and what a legit tough guy he is. And, as a wrestling fan, that's what you want. You don't want silly ass people as your champion. Sometimes that can be all right, during certain weird times, but I'd much rather have somebody like Bobby Lashley be champion than The Miz. This is a guy just like Brock that's got that, MMA background. That's why I like Drew for the same reason, because Drew was just a badass looking guy. He was half Scott Hall, half Rick Rude, just a fucking stud and can work, and was another guy that, came in, had a lot of, unlike Lashley, had a lot of hype, didn't live up to the hype, and left, came back, reinvented himself, grew, got bigger, got better, improved all around, from his look to his promo to his work in the ring. Every single aspect of his career he improved, and came back and became champion, and he looked like one. And now the same goes for Lashley, and I'm happy for him. Could not be fucking happier. And we'll see. And I talked about this last week too. If they do put the belt on Lashley, I think one of the best things that they did with him was sticking him with MVP, because when he was with Lio Rush, that didn't fit either. They kept trying shit, but nothing was sticking. Nothing felt right. Nothing felt genuine. Nothing made you a believer of Bobby Lashley. But that all changed with the Hurt Business. MVP and him fit together perfectly. That faction was badass, and really kind of displaying his dominance early in the Raw Underground stuff and all that. So, they finally started saying, oh shit, we got a legitimate badass on our hands here. We got another guy. We got a Black Brock on our hands. Why don't we treat him as such? Because he's a legitimate badass. So I am happy they made this decision, but what the fuck took so long? You know what I'm saying? Scottish Hall. I like that. Sunny Man. What's up, Michael Kumo? Good to see you. Appreciate the $5. Some WWE titles shorter than Miz's, Hogan's. Wait, hold on. Some WWE titles shorter than Miz's. Okay. Hogan's and Hart's fourth reign. Yeah. Hart's fourth reign. One night. He won it. Final four. Dropped it to Sid. I watched all that go down live. I was bummed. Bummed as hell. That was one of those first 2-hour Raws against Psycho Sid. They did something similar in that match. Actually, they did what they did with The Miz here. I think that match, which they tried to have it happen, and then Austin attacked Brett. I think they attempted the match 2 or 3 times. Might have just been twice. But something similar with that match that went down here with Miz and Lashley. They did that night in 97. Undertaker's first run, of course, was very short. Orton's first run was not shorter than The Miz. Orton held it for a month. Didn't he? Won it in 04, dropped it. Unless it's WWE title, then I don't remember. Mankind's last run. Oh, yeah, that was the SummerSlam deal with Triple H. Yoko's first and Triple H is sixth. Yeah, I'm surprised it's not more guys. What about Kane? Kane won the title. King of the Ring, dropped it the next night. There's probably more than that. Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund was shorter than The Miz, too. There's probably a lot more. As long as we think about it. Trey Williams, I'm going to have to block you. Spinner belt is awesome. Hey, y'all, go to Trey Williams' channel and block him. I'm kidding. Mike Witt, what does this mean for Drew? No, probably nothing bad yet. Probably, the Drew might be in the driver's seat here. This is what I'm nervous about. I don't really I wanted Lashley to win the title, but I just felt it would be better later. So now that he's champ, makes me worried he's going to drop this shit to McIntyre at WrestleMania. And McIntyre can have another big win under his belt against another badass at WrestleMania. But Lashley, they've done a lot and put a lot into him in the last 8 months, and I'd like to see them continue to roll. I do not want to see this guy's shoulders pinned to the mat, at least until SummerSlam, but that's a long way off. And I don't know what to expect at Mania yet. Lashley versus Bisquick at WrestleMania. My God, I'd be into that because at least we know it would be a Lashley victory and he retain. No, good question, Madeline. I have not seen anything mentioned about the Hall of Fame. They better get on it. Maybe they're not going to do it, or they're just going to do a virtual deal or something, or they're just going to stick to last year's inductees. You feel like we would have at least heard some rumors by now. Meltzer hasn't said anything. Sean Ross doesn't know anything. Nobody knows anything about this. I haven't seen anything yet, but I'd like them to do something. Yeah, if Drew beats Lashley at Mania, it feels like that would kill his run. Lashley could always get it back and stuff. And once you're, when you're a guy like Lashley, once you win the title, you should be always, near the top. But I don't want to see what happened to him, happened to Strowman, happen to him, where, yeah, Strowman's a former champion and everything, but you don't feel like he's really in the mix right now. And Lashley's done enough of that in his career. He's been not in the mix enough. It's time for him to be in the fucking mix, right in the middle of the goddamn mix, and not to leave the mix. Stay in the mix the whole time. Yeah, Daniel, we talked about Randy Orton, The Fiend, earlier on. Stipulation match of some kind is definitely coming at WrestleMania, but I questioned if it would be a Firefly Funhouse match. If it is a Firefly Funhouse match, it ain't going to be as fun. It's going to be a Firefly not fun match, because last year, Bray Wyatt and Cena did a lot of goofy shit, and what's going on with Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss and The Fiend right now seems a little bit more dark and a little bit more serious, so I think the match will have to have that tone. I think the match should look more like what AJ and Taker did last year, more than what Cena and The Fiend did. So we'll see. They're going to make something crazy, because Randy Orton's talking to himself and shit now, so we're going to have a problem here soon. It's going to be bad, but I'm excited. Do I see WWE giving Big Cass another chance? Asks Jonathan Coleman. I want to say Coachman when I read that. I only saw the picture of him. He posted something on social media, and he looks incredible, in really good shape. It looks like he's trying to find his road back to redemption. Seems to have owned up to some of his past mistakes. And, it's one thing to say that you're going to do better. So now he actually has to do it. Looks like he's been doing better. I think he had some issues and some substance abuse stuff and some attitude stuff. And, he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but apparently he's ready to kind of get back on the horse. And the one picture of him, a little bit more facial hair, and he was fucking ripped, looked pretty badass. I mean, he's always had the size, and that's kind of, I've said it before, he looks like a 7-foot jacked Edge. He's kind of got that same type of facial features a little bit that Edge does. Reminds me a little bit of him, but, a little more Nash, a little less Edge or something. But, he's always had potential, and just based on how he looks now, his physique is incredible. So we'll see. Somebody that big, I'm open to always giving him a chance. We'll see how he straightens himself out. If he works around, because, we're still in COVID era right now. So, if he gets back, starts wrestling again, doing spot shows and indies and shit like that, and, he gets signed somewhere, he'd be a pretty good fit, I would think, in AEW, unless they don't want him there or something. But, if he got brought in there, I'm sure they could find something fun to do with him. I don't know. He's too big not to be used. So if he's got his shit together and he's no longer a douche, good for him. We'll all root for him here on this channel, because when you look like that, not succeeding is a pretty big failure, because, you're in the driver's seat. You're going to get hired based on your look alone. You don't have to do anything else. So let's go. Can we give Miz some credit for playing a great heel and selflessly giving himself up to make Lashley look amazing? I guess. I'll give Miz credit for playing a great heel, but I'm not going to give him any credit for giving himself up to Lashley. He didn't have to give himself up to Lashley. If that was a shoot, he would have been beaten quicker. So I'm not going to give him credit for putting over Lashley. That's the right thing to do. Just look at the two of them. Miz was pissing his pants all night, and he did, with his fear, made Lashley look really good, but Lashley also made himself look good. But yes, Miz is a phenomenal heel, especially if he would have survived tonight, the amount of heat that would have gotten him, for him to keep putting it off and escaping one match and then running away in the next match and then somehow figuring out some plan to escape by the skin of his ass out of this match too, would have been pretty good heat. So yeah, Miz has always been a good heel, but really, I don't think should have been champion to begin with right now. Not the time. And a cup of coffee was all he needed. And I guess that's what WWE did. They just gave him the title just to get the briefcase off of him. Oh, now you got another title run to your credit. And, give us the belt back now. See ya. Lesnar versus Lashley at WrestleMania. Don't see it, but we could. Frank, I suppose maybe Lesnar could show back up on Raw right after Fastlane and surprise the world and challenge Lashley to a match. That could happen, but where's Drew? What does Drew do? He ain't working with Sheamus again. He's probably not working with Keith Lee. I don't see him getting involved in the Shane McMahon shit. So maybe he will, but for that match to happen, Drew's got to basically do nothing, and I don't think that's really an option for McIntyre. Do I think Lashley is a mix between Ron Simmons and Ahmed Johnson, minus the bad work rate and injury history? I don't see too much of Ahmed in Lashley. I see a lot of Brock in Lashley. I think he'd be more of a Ron Simmons and Brock hybrid. he actually just reminds me more of Brock, than anything else. Maybe just, Brock was just a little bit more freakish. Lashley looks freakish, but some of the things that Brock could do from a strength perspective was just nuts. The way he just pick up the Big Show like it was nothing and toss him around the ring. He just has this freakishly grizzly bearish type of strength to him. But I think Lashley does got a little bit of Ron Simmons in him, but I'd probably compare him. I'd probably be a hybrid of Ron and Brock to me more than Ahmed Johnson. Actually, I feel like Ahmed and Lashley have very little in common. Their work rate is not close to each other at all. Both big, beefy black guys. They look great together as a tag team, but that's about where their comparisons end, I think, because I think Lashley is just so much better overall than Ahmed. Ahmed looked great, man. I was, oh, you don't have a channel, Trey? Well, how the hell are you typing here? I'm kidding. I mean, you probably don't mean that. You mean you don't have a channel with videos. I'm just kidding, Trey. We'd never block you over here. We would never block you. What the fuck was I saying? Something about Bobby Lashley. Oh, Drew can team up with Nicholas, and yeah, I'm really hoping that we get a Bobby run here. That's what we want for Bob Lashley, as Miro says. Any wrestlers you think should be pushed? Yeah, we could do a 3-hour video on that. There's a whole bunch of them. WWE has too much talent that they know what to do with. And that's the problem. That's why guys like Ricochet aren't showcased at all. Or to their potential, anyway. Apparently, what do you guys think based on what we heard on Wednesday on NXT? You think the likelihood of the NXT title being defended at WrestleMania is pretty good? I think it kind of is. I think they might owe the guys that because the women had the title match last year. So I'd love to see Finn Balor defend on like night 1 or something of WrestleMania, maybe against Karrion Kross, maybe against Adam Cole. As much as I like Kross, and I think he's going to could be the face of a lot for years to come, I think Balor and Cole might give me a match I'd appreciate more as a fan. That would just be sweetly sick. Cole and Balor at Mania, but Balor and Kross would be fun too, especially if you got the Demon involved in that. Cesaro, yeah, there's one that needs to be pushed. Although Cesaro looks like he's gearing up for something going on with Seth Rollins. I don't know if they bust that match out at Fastlane or they push that to WrestleMania of some kind in some sort of match. I'd be great with that. Kevin Owens is going to have to do something at WrestleMania. We're probably going to have a battle royal of some kind. Are they doing the Andre? Do they still do the thing, right? We still do the Andre and we still do the Mae Young? Or is it just the women's battle royal? What is it? Balor versus Kross versus Cole could be a 3-way. Maybe. We're going to have a triple threat in there somewhere. I'm just not a fan of triple threats most of the time. Because Balor and Cole have this issue right now, obviously, with the Undisputed Era stuff. So Kross would be in the way. But then, if you did Balor and Kross, you had their gimmicks, aligning with, Kross's badassness and his intimidation, and maybe Balor tries to counter that being the demon, then it feels like Cole is out of place. He's the odd man out. So those three just don't match up right now, but they could, especially if it's a WrestleMania type of stage and WWE wants to, showcase certain guys, they could beef it up and make it a triple threat. Some people do find Drew McIntyre boring. I don't. I like Drew. But I've heard a few criticisms on Drew, but that's just always the case. But before he was champion, everybody wanted to be champion, including you, Scott A. I'll guarantee it. When he came back to NXT, oh my God, he's so awesome. But once you put the belt on him, it's time to tear him down. All of a sudden, they're boring. All of a sudden, they can't do the shit that you weren't saying jack shit about before. When he moved up to the main roster from NXT, nobody was saying Drew McIntyre was boring as hell. You only began saying that after he won the title. That's the way wrestling fans work. Consistent as gravity. Kevin Owens and Bryan versus the Usos at Mania. We got to get Jimmy back in the mix, man. Where the hell is Jimmy? Kick me in the Jimmy. Beavis and Butthead? Anybody? I'm old. Oh, you don't see Brock coming back to WWE? I do. I don't think he's complete. Is he? What is contractually? He's still got to be tied to them somehow, right? Maybe they signed Paul White. That surprised us. I don't know. I don't know if I just feel like Brock and his relationship with Vince and the money they pay him to do literally nothing. You know, you'd think if you went to AEW, it would have to be one of two reasons. One, the grass is greener over there, or the money is better over there. Nobody in the entire wrestling business has it better than Brock. Even when the motherfucker is losing, he's doing so in main events of pay-per-views. So he's got no reason to think that he's been done wrong in any way. This guy ended the streak. This guy went on an unbelievable winning streak where nobody was able to touch him for I don't know how long. Nobody's been put over as a legit badass, nobody can beat you type of guy more than him since maybe early 90s Undertaker. Nobody's been treated better in WWE at all than Brock Lesnar. Maybe Charlotte. That'd be like Charlotte leaving for AEW. Yeah, it sucks here. They don't like me. You know, I don't see it. I mean, Tony Khan would have to say, what's Vince paying you? I'll triple it. Then Brock's going to be like, hey, Vince, I ain't never coming back. But above that, just doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's so much still that Lesnar could do. Lesnar doesn't even really like to work and do shit, you know? So it's not like AEW could offer him a lighter schedule. He already has the lightest possible schedule you can have. So I just don't see any upside to Lesnar going there other than maybe money if he's really able to take him to the cleaners and they pay through the fucking nose to get him away from WWE. And he's just sitting back there laughing. Look at these idiots willing to pay me $30 fucking million to wrestle 3 times for a grand total of 22 minutes. You know, like, I guess I'll take it. So I think AEW would probably be better off spending their money elsewhere because the only way they're going to get Brock is to pay him more than he's getting in WWE. I don't think that's the best use of your money. And plus Brock would have, he'd have no reason to really go over there unless he had a falling out, unless he's pissed at Vince for some reason. Brock is a guy that does get pissed even when he's treated well. That one WrestleMania, he threw the belt right in Vince's face and shit. So he's kind of an asshole sometimes. So he gets mad. I guess anything is possible, but I just think that WWE is probably where Brock just needs to be because he's always going to be on top there. Man, I'm seeing this Randy and Alexa shit more and more. I suppose that maybe they could do that for WrestleMania. How many times do you have to say that, Ace? Chill out. Okay, you're done. Why are people so, dumb? Why you gotta write shit 10 fucking thousand times? I don't get it. Yeah, and Cesaro getting a world title at some point would be nice, and that could be something that we could see in 2021. Again, not all this stuff can happen at WrestleMania. There's no time or no room for him there. But if he has a good outing here and a good run in this program with Seth, maybe he comes out on the winning side of it. Because Seth is a lot of fun now, based on what we saw last Friday on SmackDown. I like this version of Seth Rollins more than what he was doing as the Messiah or whatever. Now he resembles more of Johnny Gargano in NXT than he does that serious douche that he was before. And I kind of like the fun stuff. And the swing on Friday was the funniest thing I have ever seen. And Seth is going, when he's swinging him around. Loved that. So if Cesaro can come out on the other side of this, looking good, looking strong, then yeah, later on this year, against somebody, I mean, maybe he's a guy that's on Edge's list of dudes he wants to face. And if Edge does win the title, I'm still not sold on that yet. Part of me thinks WWE should go with the realistic outcome like they did tonight on Monday Night Raw. Fans always want something that makes sense, right? Well, what they did tonight made sense, even though I wanted Lashley's moment to come a little bit later. If he faces The Miz, he's going to beat the shit out of The Miz. There's no way out of that thing for The Miz. So once he got his hands on him, reality hit. And I think it could be the same way with Edge. You don't always get the fairy tale ending. Sometimes real life kicks you right in the face. And Edge's dreams of regaining the title 10 years after he retired, could come to a screeching halt at the hands of the tribal chief. So I'm not sold on that yet either. But if Edge did win the title and he beat Roman Reigns for it, and you put Edge and Cesaro together for a string of matches on SmackDown or on an in-between pay-per-view or something, man, I'd love that. Especially if Cesaro beat him. That might be something that Edge wants to do. Roman doesn't need any help getting over. Roman can, he'll just be champ forever. But, maybe Edge is like, hey, I want to put somebody over that I think deserves it, And Triple H said in that media call, that Edge has got like a list of dudes. He's got like a hit list of guys that he wants to work with. And a lot of those guys, some of those guys are even in NXT, which, kind of adds more speculation that maybe he won't win the title and Edge kind of just does a farewell tour instead and heads down to NXT. Maybe has a couple of title matches down there, and maybe he heads over to Raw, works with one or two guys over there for his, 2 or 3 year run, whatever he's got left on his deal, and then calls it quits after that for the final time. And maybe still gets a nostalgia title run in there somewhere. Maybe it is against Roman or something, or maybe not. I don't know. We will see. Zane G, appreciate the $10, man. Thanks for that. With the Pierce, Shane McMahon, and Strowman promo segment, would WWE be planting the seeds for Strowman or Shane McMahon at WrestleMania? Yeah, we talked all about that at the beginning of the podcast. It feels like that's where they're going. The Shane stuff is weird. Shane is all of a sudden, I've been taking these classes and I've been reading about conflict resolution, and he's talking with this like more monotone voice, a softer voice, and he's condescending and patronizing, and he's making fun of Strowman for being stupid, which he is. I don't know what it's all leading to, but it's definitely, he's throwing Adam Pearce under the bus, and then he jumped up on the ring apron tonight and said, tag Adam. So I don't know what his motives are. It's weird to me. I can't feel it out. I can't figure out what Shane is doing there. I don't know why Shane is there. If you have Adam Pearce as your on-air authority role right now, Shane came out a couple of weeks ago out of nowhere for no reason to announce something that Pearce could have easily announced himself right there in the ring. So Shane's presence on Raw has not been explained or has been made to make any sense at all. So the only thing I can think of, and we can think of, is that they're setting up a Mania thing against somebody. So we'll see what he does. But yeah, it feels like it's either going to be Shane and Strowman, which would make sense at WrestleMania because it allows Shane McMahon the opportunity to fly off of something. Strowman is real good at doing random shit at WrestleMania. The SNL Weekend Update guys, the tag with Nicholas. He's done a couple of other dumb things too. I think he won the Battle Royal. Did he win the Battle Royal? I think he did. He's always doing something weird at WrestleMania that's usually not involving a title, except for last year when he was inserted into that. But had Roman not backed out, Strowman would have done something ridiculous last year too. Probably would have worked with Gronk or something. So I feel like that's a likely direction. It's like they want to make use of Strowman. He's still Strowman. He's not in the title picture or the title hunt right now, but that's not a guy you can exactly just leave off WrestleMania either. So, and he's a lot like AJ Styles. I'm curious to see what AJ does. Strowman and AJ are kind of the same there, where you feel like they're going to do something significant at WrestleMania. That's not just like a throwaway match or something dumb, On the SmackDown side of things, I don't know if you can hold off what they're going to do with Big E and Apollo Crews until WrestleMania, but that might be a fun Intercontinental title match to do. By the way, the Big E doc, I think, is available, right, on the WWE Network. I will be watching that tomorrow. That's my plan, so we'll be talking about that in the next podcast. By the way, if y'all want to smash that like button for me, I'd appreciate it. Since you're all here doing the smashing. Oh, Styles and Kofi at Mania. Sure. I don't know how you do it or get to that or why. But the match, just reading it, yeah, that's sexy. I'll take that. Yeah, Chris, you're probably right. Like, I think Big E versus Cruz at Fastlane is more likely than stretching that to Mania. I think we're going to get that right away. And then after that, what do? Does Big E drop the belt right here already to Cruz? Or do you stretch it out and you do a rematch? Does Big E retain? You do a rematch at Mania? Or does Cruz win the title, go on to do something else? And if he does, what does Big E do? He could reunite. We don't know what the New Day is going to do yet. They could potentially reunite those guys for a night on WrestleMania to take on a threesome of some kind. Is there who's out there that would be some sort of like dream fun match for New Day to face if they did something like that? I pitched the idea on Saturday during the podcast of maybe doing, because remember last year when Apollo was on Raw, he was being like heavily recruited by the Hurt Business. And, he never really fit in that way. I didn't want to see him join the Hurt Business because I didn't think he fit their attitude. He just didn't have that killer instinct to him. Only one time on Raw when he slapped Andrade did I really see something in Cruz's eyes where I'm like, oh, there's a badass behind that nice inviting face of his. So, now that he's doing the gimmick that he's doing on SmackDown now, if you did some sort of a cross promotion type of deal, because MVP's got to be watching this, being like, where the fuck was this guy when we were trying to convince him to join the Hurt Business? He resembles more now what the Hurt Business would want than he does before. Even his new gear looks a little bit like Bobby Lashley. So maybe they could do a cross deal where Big E and Apollo continue their deal, and Big E calls on reinforcements from New Day or something, and then Apollo get some reinforcements as well from Raw in the form of the Hurt Business. Maybe it's like Apollo and Shelton and Cedric against New Day or something like that. That, it's not really a marquee match or anything, but it could temporarily put Apollo with the Hurt Business just to see what he looks like with those guys to combat a reuniting New Day. But, the New Day also just recently kind of split and went their separate ways. Don't know if it's really time for a reunion yet. They took a few years to give us that with the Shield. I think they should do the same with the New Day. Otherwise, at the end, the split means nothing. New Day versus Undisputed Era. I think Undisputed Era might be dead, though. Yeah, Ronnie, you're right. I mean, I was annoyed so much by that because I thought the Hurt Business was a strong faction, and they started doing the Cedric stuff like even during their title win. I think the night they won the titles, they were teasing shit that it was going to implode. We haven't seen the Hurt Business in full mass in a while, right? Last couple of weeks, I think it's just been MVP representing each entity there. Lashley on his own, and then kind of the tag champs on their own. Haven't seen them all together in a while. Because you'd think, that's now, we better see that next week. We actually will. We absolutely will. Just like when Lashley won the United States title and we had all the gold there, you still have that now with Lashley being WWE champion. So that'll be a pretty fun visual to see Lashley as champ there. Yeah, Sami Zayn maybe getting back in the IC title picture as well, but it seemed like he got put down pretty decisively too. He's another guy. He's another one of those names that I don't want to just see do nothing. He's too damn entertaining. So I'd like to see Sami get involved somewhere on that card, whether it be for the United States title, the Intercontinental title, or something. There's going to have to be somewhere on WrestleMania in those two nights, some sort of a multi-man deal. And you think about some of the underutilized or not utilized guys right now on SmackDown, there's a bunch. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, AJ, or is AJ on Raw? I can't remember where AJ is. He's another guy. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, guys like that are going to have to do something at WrestleMania, and they might just lump them all together to be involved in some multi-person deal. And AJ versus Triple H is one that we're all wondering about. But if they're going to do that, they can't start that a day later than the Raw after Fastlane. As a matter of fact, that should already be starting. We should be getting that now. Why can't I remember where AJ is? He's on Raw. Yeah, he's on Raw. Him and Omos are on Raw. Yes. Him and Omos are on Raw. I can't remember where anybody is. Yeah, he's not on SmackDown. Yeah, IC title ladder match would be great. All right, Daniel, thanks for being here, man. Take care. Appreciate it. And you have a good one, too. I probably won't be too far behind you guys here because we're, for the most part, just shooting the shit here in the chat now since we have a decent audience tonight. And it was a pretty big Monday Night Raw with Lashley winning the title. And I was so confident that he wouldn't, I didn't even put him as the champion in my overlay here because I just kind of thought Miz would survive, a little bitch that he is. But I was pleasantly surprised to be wrong in that outcome. I don't know, Maka. I would do a follow-up to Bianca Belair and Banks as an Iron Woman match. I don't want an hour-long Iron Woman match at WrestleMania. I don't think we need to see that out of them. I think we just need to see a good, fun match between them. It would be really cool to see Belair get that moment. And you might be onto something there with the Iron Woman match because they have been showcasing how athletic Bianca is. You know that girl's stamina and cardiovascular condition is a lot better than Sasha's. And she would have no trouble, just like at the Royal Rumble. It was nothing for her. Piece of fucking cookie for Bianca Belair to get through that thing. And I think it would be the same with an Iron Woman match. So maybe you do Bianca, Sasha at Mania. You hopefully have Bianca win, but, you know, at the same time, you think about all these matches, not everybody can win the title. So, you know, somebody's going to have to retain or something. Hopefully one of those people will be Bobby Lashley. So hopefully Bianca will get that moment. She'll win the belt at WrestleMania. That will be great. Sasha ain't going to just go away. You're going to have to do something after that. You're going to have more challenges, or, you know, Sasha wanting a crack at her belt back. That's maybe when you book the Iron Woman match for the pay-per-view after. I would not do that at WrestleMania. You don't need a random stip for, you know, a first-time match here. The match should be able to sell itself just based on Bianca winning the Royal Rumble, getting the title match, that sort of thing. That's all I need there. But I am into those two in an Iron Woman match, just not at Mania. Somewhere else. Oh, Chris Thomas knows Brock. Apparently Brock told him that he isn't coming back until COVID is gone. Lucky you. Didn't know you guys had that personal of a relationship. Tell him hi. Tell him we all said what's up. CM Punk comes back and shocks the worlds. I don't think so. I'm kind of giving up on CM Punk. I thought he was coming back at All Out, man. I thought that show in Chicago, if there was ever a setting, if there was ever a way to pop the crowd, if there was ever a big fuck you to WWE, say, look where I am now, that would have been it. He didn't. So who knows? Who knows when and if. But COVID absolutely does play a role, you know? Because there's a lot of things that I don't even want to see until Brock could come back, but I don't necessarily need to see him come back until after COVID either. So I'd be perfectly fine with him sitting out until it's over. And there's a lot of things I'd be cool with waiting on, you know, until, you know, maybe a year from now when things, you know, start operating again. You know, we're all in line. We're all waiting for our vaccines and shit. At least, you know, we're a lot further off than we were a year ago. 1 year ago at this time, man, we were just about to shut down my restaurant. I was just about to be taking a couple of months off and basically sitting in my house, not sure of what the future was. And we had a pandemic TV here on Good Mike Works channel. I was up here a lot, you know, doing a lot of extra videos and stuff. And what a time. It feels a lot. I feel a lot better about where we are now. I can't make an appointment. I am in the tier now because I am a restaurant worker. So here in California, I am eligible for the vaccine, but all of my locations do not have available appointments. So I am not freaking out yet. I'll get to it eventually, but I'm at least eligible and I can go provided somebody will give it to me. So I'm working on it. Yeah, Drew getting his win back from Roman Reigns also seems like something that will happen down the line, because Drew didn't just totally swallow that loss at Survivor Series. He kind of vowed that he will have another day with Roman Reigns, and that's another fun matchup that you got on the horizon in the back of our heads that WWE can plan for and book at some point. Even if you did it again, even if you waited an entire year, Roman could drop the belt. Drew's not champion right now, but by the time you get to Survivor Series, whatever happens with Edge and how many title changes we get, if the dust settles and we get close to November and you got Drew and Roman as champion again, you can do it again. And this time you can give Roman, or you can give Drew the title, or give Drew the win, excuse me. And again, no titles have to change hands. So I'd be into them just doing a rematch next year. But we'll see. Or this year. It's this year now. Oh, wow. Well, Floyd Bush Jr., I like that idea a hell of a lot more than AJ and Triple H. If you can get AJ into NXT somehow, oh man, and face Adam Cole or Balor. I mean, we've seen AJ and Balor. They wrestled on pay-per-view once in a real good match. I think Balor beat him. That was the Mumps. I think they wrestled during the Mumps. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see. That's what they should do with AJ. Fuck Triple H. Send AJ to NXT. Get him in that ring. I'm cutting some promos with some guys. And if you want to have a reason to have the NXT title defended at WrestleMania, you should maybe have a main roster guy be involved in that. So that, I'm into that idea. Not sure if WWE will do it. Probably not, but I like it. I like the idea. Peter says CM Punk fans need to get a life. 7 years after CM Punk left the company, I didn't realize that CM Punks are really a problem. If CM Punk fans are really a problem in the IWC, are they really bothering you that bad that you had to make a comment about it? I don't even notice CM Punk fans. You know who I notice are those crazy Sasha ones. or the AEW fans that come after you. And I'm an AEW fan. I love AEW. I got a belt right behind me. I got an AEW hoodie. I watch Dynamite every week. I just ain't crazy. C number Moonsault, thanks for the $5 super chat drop there. Appreciate that. I heard a rumor that Triple H is so upset with Vince ruining NXT stars that he's thinking about breaking NXT off from WWE into his own wrestling company. You heard wrong, Moonsault. There is absolutely zero chance of that happening. There's no way that can be done. Triple H can't just decide to break off NXT from WWE. It doesn't work that way. So not sure your source there, but your source is wrong. Triple H may be being upset or frustrated with Vince McMahon from time to time. That could be true. But no, there's no scenario where that would make any sense at all. Well, we could get a double champion. Again, we could get Roman Reigns holding up both titles or something. That might be a possibility. I wasn't aware Sable had COVID. Best of luck to Sable. Well, I guess she's probably over it now. They are so secluded. I mean, I don't know what they do if they get out there and stuff, but they already live in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm surprised Sable got COVID. Oh, you heard the rumor from a YouTube comment. That's great. So, okay. Phew. Well, that makes sense, because now that makes total sense, because we see some crazy shit in YouTube comments. That would make for some awkward family dinners, I know. So how's your wrestling company? Good. How's yours? Good. Yeah, no, that wouldn't work. Go, Moonsault, go find that person that made that comment and just tell them that they're dumb. But say with all due respect first. That way it's not an insult. Because if you say with all due respect, it's all good. You can say whatever you want. So just tell him he's a stupid, dumb idiot with all due respect. And that way nobody's feelings get hurt. See how it works? Why does everybody want me to wrestle James Ellsworth? I got a chin. Was my chin going to be on the line so he can have one? I don't know how the hell James Ellsworth folds towels. Must be impossible. Sable caught it from a bald eagle. Well, I don't know. I don't want to know what she was doing with that bald eagle to be able to catch it. Derek Garcia, we have talked about that before. We talked about that last year about potentially the Hurt Business adding a female member. And I had a couple people in mind, and now I can't think of who. Oh, I know who I'd have in mind. Lure Big Swole from AEW and get her in there to do it, because she is either married or dating Cedric Alexander, right? So she'd be a perfect fit. Plus, she's a badass, and she would fit. But in terms of who's in WWE, a directionless person, I would say Sonya Deville, but she's got her role now on SmackDown, so she's doing something. I'm trying to think of people who are tough, Shayna would be the best person to add to that, because she's already on Raw. And again, she's somebody that's stock is declining and dwindling. I think Shayna Baszler would be the best person. Naomi, maybe. No, I'd say I'd vote no on Naomi. Again, I'm not going for the race thing. I don't want to just put black people in the Hurt Business. You know what I mean? I want somebody that also fits the mold, fits the attitude and all that. And Naomi is way too colorful for the Hurt Business. And she's never really displayed to me that tough badassness, that you would want for a group like that. So I think Shayna would fit better than Naomi. I'd like to see Naomi on SmackDown with her husband, with Uso, and, in the Roman deal. Maybe turning heel, having a little bit, I think she'd have to turn heel first. But the Hurt Business doesn't need to feel the glow. So if she turned heel, changed her gimmick up a little bit, dropped that feel the glow shit, and turned into a little bit somebody a little bit more no nonsense, because she is a tough chick. I think she could be if she wanted to be, at least in terms of her character. So if she turned, then maybe. But she's got a long way to go to where she'll fit the personality profile to me of a Hurt Business. But Tamina, maybe. I still see Baszler as the best option, only because, like what we saw tonight on Raw, she lost to Charlotte. Baszler's a badass who's not being treated as one. And that would be a good time to put her in there. You got a female member of Retribution. So, putting one in the Hurt Business might be all right. And especially if they backed her and she, you had MVP out there during Shayna Baszler's matches, that would just add so much. You got a great idea. You mentioned Naomi, but I feel like Shayna would be so much better there, especially with MVP backing her up. I love MVP. I think he's a great promo. I think he's a great, almost a counterpart, so to speak, than Paul Heyman. Nobody can top, Paul Heyman and his mic skills and his ability to sell a match or sell an angle. He's the best, hands down, that they have. But MVP is still very good, and I think he's excellent in his role. And like I said, he's done wonders for Lashley. He made so much more sense with Lashley than Lio Rush did. And yeah, MVP backing up one of the females. We need another Paul Heyman type of guy, another advocate, another manager, another, voice, mouthpiece type of thing. And MVP is great in that role. So yeah, put him with Raquel. Yeah, I wouldn't put Raquel in there either because she's got the size and she's got that to go on her own, kind of like Rhea Ripley does. They're just badasses that don't need it. Now, if Raquel Gonzalez happens to her what happened to Shayna Baszler, then yeah, Shayna, I'm sticking in the Hurt Business now because of what's happened to her. She's kind of been on the decline. If she had all sorts of fucking momentum and she's getting title shots, then she doesn't really need them. Joining them would just be random and out of the blue. I think joining the Hurt Business for Shayna would be a good way to bring her back up, and kind of be reborn again, refocused, new attitude, new direction, that type of thing. So in order to put Raquel in there, I think she'd have to come in, be fucked over by the Office, and not be pushed, and then be kind of floundering like Shayna is now. Even though Shayna is a champion, I feel like she's floundering, Then you put her in there. But Big Mammy Cool, I think, can stand on her own, at least at first, just like Rhea Ripley can. And who knows? Big Mammy Cool might be a champion on her own right. Don't they have that match set for Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Dakota, Raquel, Nia, Shayna for the belts? I think. Miz doesn't get injured and knows how to play a heel character perfectly. That doesn't mean he shouldn't get respect based off achieving he's achieved. No, we're not shitting on the Miz here. I love that the Miz is getting stands out. That's fucking so cute. We got people like, you never know with the IWC. They will find anything to be pissed about. Now Miz got screwed. Am I hearing this right? That Miz did not have the Miz. Mike Mizanin did not have a long enough run with the title. We actually have people in the community that are mad about that. I am all for the Miz winning the title and everything, but in terms of WrestleMania, get that little fucker away from the belt. When we got badasses like Lashley and Drew McIntyre in the mix for this title, there is no place for the Miz, at least currently right now. I do not think the Miz was done wrong at all. I don't think anything didn't make any sense. I think the outcome in real life is what happened here in kayfabe. The Miz would get absolutely murdered if Lashley ever got his hands on him. I don't think Miz was shown any disrespect here by the company by having him only hold the title for 2 weeks at all. I think that's kind of funny. And we don't hate the Miz here at all. I'm just trying to be honest about where he is on the card and coming into WrestleMania time based on who's on top. Other times of the year and different times, maybe the stars will align better for a Miz title run. But right now, he's got no business being up there. And we all thought ever since he won it that this would be a cup of coffee. I actually thought he'd drop it at Fastlane. He dropped it tonight. So I think that's funny that we got people sticking up for the Miz. You never know. You never know what's going on in this world. But hey, at least the Miz has got some supporters. Because I've always been okay with the Miz. I've been more on board with Miz than most. I think he's gotten a lot of shit over the years from the fans. I've been the one that stepped up a couple of years ago and say, hey, let's give Miz another run with the title. He's more than earned it. He's more than proved himself. Everything that he's been through since he started and his first title run, which just felt rushed and not ready yet. He's dealt with a lot. Chris Benoit kicked his ass, threw his shit out of the locker room and told him to change in the closet. This guy's been hazed. He's been trolled. He's had heat. He's been through everything, and he's improved and fought through it. And he's one of WWE's frontline guys in terms of media promotion and things like that and representing the company. So he absolutely deserves to be a champion. But in terms of right now going into WrestleMania, I don't want him champion. No. Too many more deserving people, I think, at the top in terms of what they can offer and their believability, because Miz has been booked like a chicken shit little heel in the past few months. He's not looked like a guy that's gone out there and fought hard and defied the odds he's escaping. He barely even escaped tonight. He wasn't even able to get his first title defense underway, I guess, unless you count the count out and the other one. So yeah, I'm cool with what they did tonight. Trust me, I'm not shedding any tears for the Miz. He's fine. He's still the Miz. He's got his own reality show. What's he got to bitch? What does he have to bitch about? Nothing. He's the Miz. He's still the Miz. And we talked about, too, if they do something, and we mentioned this earlier on, if Miz feels like he was done wrong tonight and the deck was stacked against him, he could come out next week and demand a rematch against Lashley, but now a stipulation that's in his favor. And then you could maybe do a handicap. You could have Lashley taking on Miz and Morrison, and then maybe Morrison fucks up or something, because at some point, I guess probably after WrestleMania now, you'll have to do the Miz-Morrison split again, unless they just keep them together forever. But WrestleMania will probably be with Bad Bunny and The Miz. And again, that's another, even though it's a silly match, it's a high-profile, high-paying match. Miz is working with an international celebrity, and he's going to get a big, fat fucking payday from this. And Miz has done big things at WrestleMania, too. He's been in these mixed tags with Maurice and Cena and Nikki, and he did the Shane McMahon shit a couple of years ago, or last year, whenever that was. And now potentially something here with Bad Bunny. He's got a good spot. Miz has no reason to complain. Thanks for the $5, Deshaun Robinson, and good to see you back. Hey, Greg, I've been here the entire time enjoying the review. Can't explain how happy I am for Lashley. I sent you some cool stuff I seen on Twitter. All right, I will check that out, man. Yeah, and you guys who've been knowing, I got a whole bunch of... Leo Rush is... that's cool. I got a whole bunch of notifications on Twitter. That's very cool. Oh, I didn't realize that. Was MVP in the ring when... I didn't even know MVP and Lashley had a deal in TNA. That's cool. So he was there for his TNA win and his WWE win? That's nice. That's cool. Thanks for all these, Deshaun. I'm reading through some of those now. That is fucking great. Yeah, Lashley joining some elite company with Kofi Kingston and The Rock. Leo Rush looks very emotional and very happy for his friend winning the title. That's going to be a fun thing to do, is to see the reaction to the wrestling world. People like giving the attaboys to Bobby Lashley that he deserves. Long time coming for that dude, you know? Now you could somehow figure out a way to get a Daniel Bryan Miz match done. That's going to be tough to do, but not that the brand extension would stand in the way. When does that ever stand in WWE's way of doing anything? Is it Cheyenne or Sheen? Calburn, favorite WrestleMania set designs? We watched WrestleMania 17 watch along last night. That's a good one. I liked, I'm trying to think now. 33 was awesome. 24 was cool. 28 was cool. As much as the pay-per-view sucked, 29 was cool. The New York set with the bridge and all that stuff, that was cool. And the big Statue of Liberty on top of the ring. Pay-per-view sucked, but set was one of the best. I am not a good man. I am the best man, motherfucker. You're not a good man. You're a butt-faced ball licker. Get out of here. Yeah, right. MVP is, he deserves a lot of credit here too. You know, he helped, Lashley did the work, but MVP was really a big part of this, I think. Just, him coming together and that pairing there is, I guess, what it took to finally get WWE management to finally pay attention and say, okay, let's treat this guy the way he ought to be treated. So MVP deserves a lot of credit in Lashley's success as well, especially in this last few months. And since the formation of the Hurt Business and what a big success that was. And literally from the word go, Cedric and Shelton had their problems. They lost some matches and had some dissension and, shit was going down. But for the most part, the MVP Lashley pairing has been very dominant, very believable, dating all the way back to the Raw Underground when Lashley showed up there first and started kicking people's asses. And I'm like, I like it. I'm liking this Lashley. Finally, he feels like a badass because he's always been one. But anyway. I think that's going to be it for me for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here since we've been streaming now for a good 2 hours. I want to thank you guys for joining us again tonight. Thanks for being here. This was a fun 3 days. We'll be back up again this weekend. You might hear from me earlier midweek. I'm not sure yet. Otherwise, I'll be back up here Saturday for sure for the Winged Eagle podcast. And then this coming Sunday, we have AEW Revolution. So I'll be up here immediately following the pay-per-view for a review this weekend. And then, of course, 1 week from tonight, we will be back here reviewing Raw. And who knows what the hell is going to happen. But you definitely know next week on Raw, we will get some Fastlane matches set because it's going to be March 8th, and Fastlane is on the 21st. So we got to figure out what the title matches are going to be and what they're going to do for Fastlane. And then finally, the last stop on the road to WrestleMania is going to be over, and we can start focusing and concentrating our energy on that, which is what I'm ready for. So it'll be a fun WrestleMania build. I'll be up here for 3-day weekends, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, every single week between now and WrestleMania. So that'll be a lot of fun. And you guys have a good rest of your night. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Again, I appreciate it as always. And I will catch you in just a few days for a brand new podcast. You all be good. Peace.